Hello. So tomorrow I'm going out to my favorite Italian place for the first time in months because we've been in lockdown and now everything's open again, and I haven't been there since I think September last year. So
I'm excited.
And as it always takes me forever to finish sewing projects, I thought maybe I should give myself this deadline of wearing it tomorrow. It's gonna be a big stretch. I only have half a day tomorrow because I'm meeting a friend. Dinner is at 6 probably, and it is already 6 today. So I have a few hours today and a few hours tomorrow, and I honestly have no idea why I think I'm gonna be able to do this, but I will try. Let's see if I can do this. I'm hoping this deadline-driven pressure thing will help me get it done really quickly, because otherwise something like this would take me a week or two, probably more too, because I love procrastinating, even if it's things I love doing. So let's go. I bought 3 meters of this beautiful white cotton fabric, but I think I used only about 2.5 meters in total for the dress. For the bodice, I used a pattern from a Burda print that I bought last year and extended the neckline to just lie a bit closer to the bottom of my neck. And this is the back part of that. For the sleeve, I used a Vogue pattern. I think it's called a bishop sleeve. And here's the cuff to gather all the fabric together. Here I am measuring the length of a dress I made last year because I wanted this dress to have the exact same length. And now that I see this dress, I really like this dress, but now that I see the pattern on the fabric, it reminds me a lot of some curtains that my grandma has at her place. And yeah. Next, I put all my pattern pieces onto the folded fabric and traced them on, making sure that the front part was on the folded edge so that when you open it, it's one big piece. And here you also see how I extended the neckline in the back part of the pattern. Pinned the bodice together, and I kind of like it. This is the second part I made. The first one I made didn't fit. The shoulder started here, so I kind of went down like this. I don't know what I did wrong, but actually I do. I just did it wrong. And yeah, no idea why I didn't do it on the lining first, because now I wasted like a whole front piece of fabric. And now I'm gonna stitch it together properly and maybe just cut down like a tiny bit here so it's like right at the bottom of my throat. But before I did that, I took the pieces apart again and traced them onto just a normal white lining fabric because the fabric I had bought was quite see-through and I did not want people to see through. So this is just a normal basic soft white cotton, and I'm using that for the bodice and for the 2 ruffled layers beneath that as well. And after that, I was ready to do what I said I would do in the previous step, and that was sew together the bodice part at the shoulder seams and at the side seams. I also sewed up the middle back until about a bit further than halfway so that I would have enough space to put my head through, and I later planned on putting buttons there, which I then didn't do because for one I didn't find a nice button, and also I didn't know how to do it properly, so I ended up actually creating 2 really long ties and tying it together, and it looked really nice, but I'll show you later. I also got ice cream. When I was back home and it was already quite late, I started working on the inner layer of the bodice, sewed it together, and finished all the raw edges with zigzag scissors because I didn't want the fabric to fray. I did the exact same thing to the outer layer of the bodice, also finishing those hems with my zigzag scissors, and then right sides together, sewed the 2 parts together along the edge of the neckline. This is the part that I should have changed if I wanted to put some buttons in, so I think I should have left one of the corners kind of open so I could have stuck in a little loop to catch the button, but I just didn't think of that. Which in the end I think is for the better because I really like the way it turned out now. After turning it inside out, this is what it looked like. I ironed down all the edges and I was actually really happy with the result of this. Then it was finally time for the first ruffle, which I created by measuring the hem of my bodice, which was 109 centimeters, and multiplying it by 1.5, which then got me 146 centimeters, I think. Both ruffles were about 25 centimeters wide, plus about 2 centimeters seam allowance. I remember at this point being a bit worried that if I created the gather from the lining fabric and the nice fabric that it would look really bulky and just a bit weird, but I think it turned out absolutely fine in the end, as I've said many times. Also with the lining underneath, and I have not put in the button yet, but there's going to be a button here. So yeah, I'm gonna go to bed. I think it's 1:45. I'm exhausted, but I'll get up early tomorrow and hopefully do it. And so the next morning I got up, not early, but I got up and I put my machine to the longest stitch, fed my body some coffee, and started working on gathering the first ruffle. When you do this, make sure to not backstitch at the beginning and the end, otherwise it will be, I think, impossible to gather. Maybe it's not, I don't know, I've never tried. But yeah, start gathering the whole ruffle and then you can fit it to the size of your bodice. Here I am gathering it. It took quite a while. As you can see, I always make 2 stitches. I know you can also do it with 1, but I'm always afraid that 1 is gonna break and then I'll have to do the whole thing again, and I'm a very risk-averse person who would rather not do that. At this point, I was really running out of time, so I finally started working on the first ruffle with the 2 layers of fabric. I was really happy that it turned out nice. I was a bit worried that the fabric, because of the 2 layers, would look really bunched, but it actually gave the whole dress a really nice weight, and I'm happy I did it. I always like attaching the ruffle first and then sewing the ends together just in case I do something wrong, which is what I'm doing here. The final ruffle layer has to be 1.5 times longer than the first ruffle layer, which means that overall I was cutting out a lot of fabric, especially together with the lining fabric, and it was taking a lot longer than I hoped it would. I sewed the pretty fabric and my lining fabric together with a basting stitch along one of the edges and then started ruffling the whole thing again so that I could attach it to the rest of the dress. Now the dress was finally looking like something, and I kind of liked it without the sleeves, but I was finally able to add the sleeves, and this is where everything kind of started going wrong. It was really hot, I was really tired, I was done with the dress, and I was making a lot of mistakes, like this mistake here. When I noticed this, I was really angry, I was really stressed, and I was just annoyed at myself, and this was not the only thing that went wrong. And then we cancelled the dinner because the gods told me not today. So yeah, that's the dress. I really like it. It ended up being my go-to dress this summer. Even when it was too warm because of the long sleeves, I wore it all the time, and I plan on making a darker version out of it, maybe with some black material to wear in the winter with some boots. I know I described myself as a risk-averse person a minute before this, but for some reason I thought it was a good idea to eat ice cream in this dress. Nothing went wrong, so it's fine, but I'm not risk-averse, I guess. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed watching me create this in a very stressed situation, and yeah, see you!